Hello, this is Terry Radney again, and the author of may not know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to say it anyway. We're on the Black Men's Issues chapter, and I'm going to get into the beginning introduction. It was pretty long, so we're gonna try. I'm gonna try to touch on points. When I did this, when I did the introduction, I kind of wanted to get into why, or get into what I was going to convey from each point afterwards. So I just kind of did a little rant. That's basically what I did do. My biggest points that I was trying to make through this introduction was the importance of self-love and understanding that God brought us all here, each of us as a race of people, um, for a purpose. And that, you allowing others to redirect your purpose is not only something they'll have to answer to, but us as well, because of us not having a belief system that we're here for a purpose. That's one of the things I tried to get into was the slavery issue and how we were brought over here for the purpose of working someone else's handling somebody else's labor issues, and from that, us allowing someone to dictate to us what we should or should not be, stripping us of our heritage and things of that nature. We should never have fallen prey to their attitudes about it. I mean, I see no reason why anybody would allow someone who needs them. Like, if you need me and you need me to do what you need me to do, I am not bowing down to nobody on that purpose, because you need me. I didn't ask to be here. My ancestors didn't ask to be here. Outside of, I'm a fair-skinned black person, so I'm fully aware that there is some white or European ancestry in me, but I have nothing to do with that. I don't know anything about it, so I'm considered a black American or African American, however you want to put it. So I'm just gonna say the people who are part of that entity did not ask to be here. They were brought here. So therefore, I am not knuckling down to the attitudes of anybody who needs me. You get with the program, you accept me for who I am, and you let me do what I need, whatever it is you brought me over here for. And I just never understood the sensibilities behind that. But again, that's a question that I attempted to address when I tried to get into the division that's between us as a race of people by questioning whether or not, and I even quoted from a Bible verse where you taking on the attributes of your oppressor or your desire, how that is definitely something that will create a curse. So my feeling behind that is our lack of self-love is so we fall prey to that lack of self-love, to the point of where we don't recognize that when you do chase behind your oppressors, that you will fall further and further in the hole. And I that's my personal opinion as to why we as black people, especially in the African diaspora, are suffering the way we are, because we don't love ourselves. And not only we don't love ourselves, we're constantly following behind people who don't love us either. And of course that we will never be looked upon as equal to them, because they never intended for us to be equal to them. So what do you do with that? And so those are things that I tried to discuss in this particular section. Another thing, of course, I got into was the our ability to make a way out of no way. Since we've come to the Americas, especially in the United States, black people have always found a way to take the scraps and make it into something. Of course, to their amazement, the only problem is once it becomes a success, we have a tendency, and maybe it's just even through the course of the success of it, where you have the powers to be within our own community, knowing that it wasn't from a good place, they tend to look down on it. So you have two struggles. You have one group of people outside of us who appreciate the efforts that we make, and then we have the people within our group who look down on it because they know the source from what it came from was not positive. However, because of our ability to make a way out of no way, it demonstrates the power of the level of creativity that we as black people have, and we need to be able to manage that where we have control over it versus us constantly throwing ourselves under the bus by not giving it the nurturing or support that it should have. That's part of the reason why even when you look at things like hip hop and other entities that we've created, why now someone else of another hue is running the show. Because you, first of all, you had to divide a people who quote unquote didn't appreciate it because it didn't come from a, as they like to say, a valid place. And then you also have a group of people who, because they desired to get ahead, they allowed those who they felt could pay the price take it over. And so now, we are now under the thumb again of our oppressors. And they also get a chance to control the message, and they get to control the how it's going to be executed. And so now you don't have the positive entities throughout like you used to. Now you don't have people who will be able to, or the people who do have to fight to even be heard. And that's part of the problem, unfortunately, with the music right now, is that we have a lot of people out there that if they have something good to say, or if they have something that could move us forward, they're fighting to be heard is their biggest Achilles heel or thorn in their side. Whereas the ones that possibly are just exploiting the music, or just trying to get paid any way they can, are the ones that are in the forefront. And but again, that really comes from us our lack of support of the entity. And my feeling, because of the history of hip hop and how it came about in the first place, where it was really a form of survival, especially from the people in the East Coast of New York. The entity of it was a circumstance of people who just wanted to um, promote their creativity, and they were under a limited resources, and so they did what they had to do. So for me, I don't look at hip hop as a negative. I look at it as a circumstance that if people who understood that the powers to be in our community had understood that and had fought for these people to have creative vehicles in the way that people say they should have had, what hip hop should be, or not hip hop, the music should be, then maybe, just maybe, it could have went in a different direction. But nobody who would call themselves being positive was interested in supporting it. So now you gave it to people, it falls in the hand of people who were more interested in exploiting it. And that's the history of anything that we seem to create, is that because it doesn't come from a place of valid or validity, like we like to believe, is not the way someone else's standards say it's supposed to be. There's powers to be in our community that looks down on things. And like I said, I just use hip hop as an example, but it's not just hip hop. It's anything that we have created in our communities, that because we know that it's created from a form of survival. We do not appreciate it. We do not give it the support it needs. We do not nurture it. So we end up having nothing. And because we end up having nothing, we're always at the mercy of other people. So we can never really stand on our own 2 feet. We can never really build. We can never really grow, because we're constantly put under the thumb of other people, based on our lack of love and support of our own entities. And even when it comes down to our physical situations, I'm so grateful And I've learned to be so grateful of our unique physical attributes, because guess what? A whole lot of other people, majority of people don't have those attributes. So that's an ability to make oodles and oodles of money off of just yourself alone. You don't even need other people, because you have the ability to create something for yourself that you do not have to compete with other people with. When you become part of the mainstream, you are now part of that pool of people that you have to that's a larger pool of people you have to compete with. So when you have something that's uniquely yours, you have the control. You have the ability to run it. You have the ability to grow, make it grow. But when you jump into the middle of something that everybody else has, guess what? You get lost in the sauce. And if those people don't have see any good value in you, they're not going to support you, because they have their own entities to support. If I try to make a spaghetti sauce, and there's nothing special about the spaghetti sauce except it just being like a regular old spaghetti sauce, okay, it might be of good quality and things of that nature, but unless there's something special about it that makes it different from somebody else's, they'll just go where their comfort zone. They don't have to support me. It has to be something special about it for them to want mine. And it has to be something that I can have control over it, that I'll be able to maintain. So getting too caught up in mainstream circumstances really does us more damage than good, because it puts us in a position of competing with a bigger pool. And unless racism is completely eradicated, where people were really truly looked upon for the content of their character, as Martin Luther King would have said, we have to deal with the fact that people are going to pick and choose on the basis of race. And so it behooves us as black people to want to to value our uniqueness, to value what we bring to the table, and make it work. Because every time we do, that's when we get a pound. That's when we do get, oh wow, you all did that, huh? But every time we try to follow behind them, we end up getting lost in the sauce, and we there's nothing special about us. Nobody cares. So that was part of one of the major points I was trying to make out of this particular introduction, and where, of course, we, as you relate to that, as for black men, is again, it's the leadership position here. One of the things that I keep stressing over and over again about you all not being able to be the men that everyone else is allowed to be, hinders not only you, but it hinders how we relate to each other, as far as male and female, and how we relate to each other in the community. And because of that, you all finding your way, you all finding your strength, you all understanding your value becomes extremely important. It's not just about, us as women and how we view ourselves, but how you view yourself, and how you value your community, and how you value um, all your talents, is what is going to make or break us. So, again, and if you don't have good self-esteem, you're going to follow behind whatever you think is the prize. That goes with how you choose women, that goes in how the kind of communities you raise your children in. All those things, relate to how things are going to be executed. So that's why it really does become important that you see that vision. I mean, and you might say, well, what about my wife? What about the mothers? Well, let's put it this way. Again, I keep saying this: women were made to be in a relationship, and that is our weak spot. That is our weak point. We can hoop and holler about "I am woman, hear me roar," but we know deep down we need you. And we have to have you in some capacity, if whether it's just to have children, whether it's for financial support, whether it's just to have your presence. We definitely desire to have you part of our lives. And we need you to be part of our lives. So if you put your foot down and say, I'm going to work toward building our community, we have no other choice but to follow suit. Because, to be perfectly honest, outside of slavery, where white men either raped or manipulated black female slaves, they have no interest in us. I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. I mean, some black men, I mean, black women, white men relationships, and some of them are honest and some of them are not. But let's just keep it real. They're not flocking to get to us. And the only reason why I see the increase of black men and white women is because, first of all, white women have been told that they're the prize. So, in the eyes of everybody else. So, of course, they feel like, hey, I got some options here. And second of all, usually they don't really feel too, when the ones that usually gravitate toward black men usually are I call the throwaways. There's something usually wrong with them in the first place. I mean, you have a few that have genuine love for their men, and they actually do have brings things to the table. But for the most part, it's usually something lacking in their own circumstances that causes them to gravitate toward us. And it's usually them needing to be built up from them being desired by us is what really becomes the real draw. I mean, if I know that, hey, I can get praises and love from someone else when the people who are supposed to give me praises and love is not doing it, of course I'm gonna run to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I want to be loved. I want to be accepted. And no, when you put, well, since the white community has always put their people and their entities above everybody else, and like I said, they have a good propaganda, campaign. They've successfully been able to convince everyone else that they're the crap, that they're the shit, that they're the ones that everybody should want to be and have in their life and aspire to be. They've done it well. They've done it for centuries, and everybody's fallen for it. Even Asians have fallen for it. And so, a lot of people look at like anything that's associated with them as, hey, a prize material. So, until we kind of see it for what it is, and our eyes are truly open, this is what we're going to quote unquote be victims to. You know what I'm saying? Vulnerable to, because we allowed these people to tell us how great they were. And like I said, and they spend a lot of their time, um, you know, discrediting everyone else. Um, my belief system, I've read a lot of books and I've gotten a lot of information about slavery, and of course the biggest issue with that was the financial gain that was achieved during that course. I mean, even now there's still conversations about how much wealth was that came out of slavery. And because of that, also when you look at Africa, their constant involvement in that continent, and how they suck up all their resources, and how they have a hand in how the governments are ran, with them making sure that they still have access to their resources, which of course leaves a lot of the people in Africa, in those countries, vulnerable to the leadership, where if the leadership decides that they would rather appease the European and other Western governments, that means that they will leave their people out in the cold, because everything is so, the focus is on whatever the Europeans want out of there. So even if it comes across as appearing that they're independent countries, they're truly not, because every time someone who speaks out against, or who tries to do more for their own people, they usually are removed, or assassinated. There's usually some issue that goes on. So the people that's put in place are put there for the purpose of making sure that the Europeans still maintain, the Europeans in the Western countries maintain their status quo within that in that continent. So again, if I can manipulate people into believing that I'm the crap and that you should look to me for guidance and influence, then of course you're going to be vulnerable to it. And that's where we have to wake up and realize that, without us having a good sense of who we are and understanding what we can do within our own communities and things of that nature, we're going to fall vulnerable. Some of the points that I tried to get into is, just how we don't support each other. I get into the conversation of colorism within our community. The other points I get into is how we the priorities that men have because of them allowing misguided concepts to get in the way of things that they don't because they don't support each other as men. That constant battle of I'm gonna pull you down because I don't have because you don't because you have something. I'm gonna make sure you don't get too far, or I like to call it the hateration circumstance. How because of the fact that we as women find ourselves being the ones in a position of carrying a ball, how it puts you in a vulnerable place and how you should be handling that. Those are kind of things that I try to get into. There's a lot of points, and I will be going through them as we go. But right now, I just wanted to kind of give you overall as what this whole chapter was about and where I was coming from, and just like I said, where I was with it and how it relates to you. So this is the introduction, and that's pretty much like I said. It was kind of a rant, so to speak, but I really, really was passionate about this because, of course, with all the things that's currently going on right now, it's really struck a nerve with me that where we are. I've said it again. I really wish we can get out of here. I wish we could. I wish that we had rethought the offers that were made to us during the 1800s, where there was concerns about racial unity and the lack of it by abolitionists during that time, where they expressed that race was so racial issues were so embedded in their group of their people that they never saw racial equality ever existing. And I wish we had taken heed to that when the offer was made for us to possibly have our own land and things like that. But the powers within our community felt that we can do it here. And because so much of us have built the land or the build or the country with our labor, they felt that we should have a voice. Unfortunately, we've been fighting ever since. So, but again, I'm going to get more into the discussion of things. And the last point I'm going to make before I sign off is the constant complaint from the powers to be within our group, who seem to have so much problem with how we do things. Again, I feel like this is where unity comes in. If you want things to change, you don't like the way young men dress and things of that nature, support a black designer, start a clothing line, help create jobs within the community from things like that. All the complaints that we have from the higher ups in our groups, the intellectuals or the people who are supposed to be the voices of our community, they always seem to have something to say about the undergroups. But no one's ever really offered any true solutions outside of us constantly finding ourselves supporting the people who don't really care about us. So I'm not interested in fighting to get into a certain store or anything like that. I could care less. You know what I'm saying? I'm more about making sure that our people can become the suppliers of our needs versus me constantly dealing with somebody like H&M or whoever, or not H&M, Abercrombie and Fitch, whatever that store is. They don't want us in their store. Whoever else has problems and they're racially profiling us, stop going there. Just find someplace else to go. There's enough designers and creative people in our community that they can come up with things, and you start putting your money where your mouth is and back them up. Thanks.
Okay, this was the introduction of the Black Man commentary or commentary again because of time. I'm not going to give you the full commentary. I'm just going to give this is just a conversation or the start of the conversation. The other commentary I did that's called Black Perspective kind of went more into detail of what I was expressing here, especially when it came to how we view ourselves. So it's again, I realize that in some situations it seems like I'm duplicating the conversations, but I'm really not. So I kind of go more into it, or I give a few more points that I normally didn't say originally. So, if you could forgive that aspect of it and just kind of be patient and understand I'm not really trying to repeat myself over and over again. But there was one question I was attempting to ask in the Black Perspective um, commentary that kind of got cut off. So hopefully I can ask it in this, where I was saying about bringing something to the table. One of the things this was recorded for you all the day after Martin Luther King's birthday celebration. And one of the things that I've always kind of picked up from the difference between Malcolm and Martin Luther King was, of course, everybody knows Malcolm was about promoting self love and things of that nature. And the thing that I feel like we failed to understand or appreciate about Malcolm over Martin Luther King or Dr. Martin Luther King is that before you can integrate into a society, you first must see value in yourself. Because if you don't see value in yourself, again, you're going to assimilate. You're not going to bridge the gap. You're not going to bring in, like you're going to constantly throw yourself under the bus just to appease the group that you're trying to be part of. And then when you think about all the things that's happened since the civil rights, that's pretty much what's happened. Because we did not value who we were. We kind of threw ourselves under the bus by allowing everybody to tell us what we are and who we are. And that's now we're paying for it. Because we didn't protect our own entities. We don't have a plan B, that which is one of the things I discuss in this particular chapter. We don't have anything to stand on. We don't have anything to fall back on, simply because we were so in a rush to be part of this white society that we just completely and tossed everything that we had under, threw it under the bus, because our belief system was we're nothing because we allowed these people to tell, or anybody to tell us that we're nothing. And so, and again, like I said, you can't really integrate unless you bring something to the table, which means that you have to value what you're worth. You have to value yourself. You have to believe that you can add to something. Otherwise, you're nothing. So, again, the question I was trying to get convey in that end tail end of the commentary was to say, what made us believe that was the way to go? What made us believe that it was okay to put ourselves in a position where we have to appease someone else on a constant level? Nobody respects anybody that doesn't bring anything to the table. And like I said before, if your spaghetti is nothing special about your spaghetti, it's just spaghetti. Unless you got something in it that makes it different than what they have, it's just spaghetti. So, I'm just making that point. And another aspect, and I asked that question, which really further understanding of slavery and how the mechanic or how the entities was based on the reason for them treating us the way they treated us, because they were fully aware that we brought something to the table. But because of the fact that if we were aware that we brought something to the table, they knew they wouldn't be able to control us. So that's really the reason for all that has taken place, is that they're fully aware that we're assets. We're the ones who allowed them to tell us differently, and we took it in and believed it. So guess what did you have? You had people who didn't fight and didn't say, "Hey, you need me, so you need to get with the program." Instead, we allowed them to make us feel inferior, and by making them feel making us, then all of a sudden it's like, well, hey, whatever you tell us must be right, and so therefore we need to go along with the game plan. So again, like I said, the importance of understanding your worth is extremely crucial here for your own survival. It's not about thinking you're better than someone else, because no one is better than anybody. We're all the same in some capacity. Our talents is what makes us all equal, whether no matter how diverse it is. We're all bring something to the table. I don't care what race you are, but we everybody should be command the respect that they deserve if they want to function in a proper way on this while they're living here. So that's what we should be focusing on versus constantly. And I'm talking to the powers to be, because it's those people who threw us under the bus. It's those upper class people who felt that they wanted to. They felt that we're going to integrate, and we all we got to do is just do what they tell us and just be as close to them as possible. Then everything's going to be all right. Well, it's not going to be all right, because you are omitting who you are. Period. So let us stop being ridiculous about this. Understand that, like I said, God brought us all here for a reason, and whatever reason we are brought here, we serve a purpose, and it is a positive purpose, not a negative one. So if you don't understand that, you are already lost in the sauce. So that's the end of this commentary, and the last one really is more about fatherhood. So I will continue that on a later. But again, this is actually the first commentary or introduction to the chapter of the Black Men issues. And like I said, I have more points, but because of the limited time frame, I could not discuss them all. And again, this is what a book is for. So please, if you're interested in learning more, please buy the book. Thank you. Goodbye.